Metroid is a game that is so good, it has practically invented its own genre. Like, almost immediately, it had perfected an isolated atmosphere, non-linear level design, and ability gating. We all know of games like Ori and Hollow Knight, but there are tons, and I mean a countless number of Metroid-inspired games on Steam alone that, deserves the recognition. So here are 15 insanely good 2D Metroid clones you're sleeping on. Axiom Verge, 2015. Created entirely by a single developer, Thomas Happ, Axiom Verge takes everything the original Metroid did and improves and perfects it as much as he could. It's able to capture the sense of dread and mystery of early Metroid, as you play as Trace, a scientist who wakes up on the alien world of Sudra after a lab accident. The game's standout mechanic is the Address Disruptor, often called the Glitch Ray, which allows you to physically corrupt the environment and enemies, turning projectiles into platforms or warping monsters into harmless blobs. It turns the concept of a game glitch into a part of the core gameplay loop, forcing you to look at the world differently and asking you to break video game design logic. Axiom Verge features a staggering array of over 20 unique weapons, from wide burst lightning to bouncing projectiles, encouraging you to swap equipment based on the biome's geometry. Combined with a haunting, synth-heavy soundtrack and massive Giger-esque bosses, it creates an atmosphere of biomechanical isolation that few clones can match. Environmental Station Alpha, 2015. Developed by R.V. Teikari, the mind behind Baba Is You, Environmental Station Alpha is, in a word, minimalist. While its ultra-low resolution pixel art might seem simple, it hides one of the most mechanically tight and atmospheric explorations in the genre. You control a robot sent to investigate a derelict space station, and very quickly the game leaves you alone against a hostile, overgrown ecosystem. Movement is incredibly sharp, emphasizing a grappling hook mechanic that eventually becomes your primary way of navigating the world. Boss fights are extremely difficult, requiring precise patterns and practice to master your limited toolkit. It basically took the Metroid formula and made it a bullet hell precision platformer. What truly makes ESA memorable is what happens after the credits. The game features a massive, incredibly complex post-game filled with cryptic puzzles, hidden lore, and secret endings that rival La Mulana in terms of difficulty. It transforms from a standard Metroid-like into a deep, investigative mystery that challenges your understanding of the station's history. Outbuddies DX, 2019. Developed by Julian Laufer, Outbuddies takes Super Metroid and places it in a deep-sea location that really reminds me of BioShock's Rapture. You control Nikolai Bernstein, an adventurer exploring the sunken city of Balong. But you aren't facing deranged slicers, but rather a bunch of very alien deep-sea creatures, all part of some bizarre deep-sea ecosystem that feels more alien than most aliens in games. The core hook is your companion, Buddy. This flying drone is essential for survival, providing light in pitch-black caverns and scanning the environment for hidden passages. It even introduces a unique co-op element where a second player can control Buddy to manipulate the environment while you focus on the shooting. It's a clever solution on the Metroidvania problem of, hidden secrets, making scouting and reconnaissance separate from navigation and fighting. The underwater setting isn't just there for the funky aesthetics either. It actually affects your movements as well as the entire physics system, making you feel slow and vulnerable against the fast-moving, multi-staged leviathans that guard the depths. Xeodrifter, 2014. If you're looking for a Metroidvania that doesn't demand 40 hours of your life, Xeodrifter is the light snack you'll be looking for. Developed by Renegade Kid, it condenses the genre's best traits into a focused, highly polished experience. You play as an interstellar traveler stranded in a small cluster of 4 planets, each offering a distinct biome and the specific power-ups needed to navigate the others. Xeodrifter features a plane-shifting mechanic where certain paths allow you to jump between the foreground and the background, adding a twist to the platforming and allowing for a better variety of platforming puzzles and challenges. The game also features a unique modular gun system where, instead of finding preset upgrades, you collect gun notes that you can distribute into different stats like speed, power, or projectile behavior such as wave or rapid fire. This allows you to respec your weapon on the fly, tailoring your damage output for specific enemies or scenarios. It's a short but very tightly designed experience that will scratch that Metroidvania itch. Gato Roboto 2019. Developed by Doinksoft, this Meowtroidvania puts you in the paws of Kiki, a cat whose pilot owner is trapped in a crashed ship. You must navigate a high-tech research facility by hopping in and out of a powerful mech suit. It's a stylish black and white adventure that perfectly balances charm with surprisingly challenging gameplay. The core of the game is the duality between Kiki and the mech. While in the suit, you're a walking tank capable of blasting through walls and soaking up damage. However, many areas require you to eject and navigate as a tiny, vulnerable cat. In cat mode, you can climb walls and swim through tight spaces, but a single hit means instant death. This constant switching creates a great gameplay loop that keeps things interesting and adds tons of variety. Despite the limited palette, every biome, such as the lava-filled vents and the lush research gardens, is distinct and readable. Despite it being 1-bit visuals, the game somehow makes everything clear and readable while still delivering charming visuals, even when you're frantically fighting bosses. Escape from Tethys 2018. I haven't seen many Metroidvanias that utilize Mega Man gameplay, but this is one of them. Developed by Whimsical, you wake up on the cold, hostile planet of Tethys and must find a way off before its mechanical and organic horrors consume you. The game is designed around a strictly non-linear world where you can easily stumble into high-level areas before you're ready. This will create an actual sense of danger and discovery, as you must carefully scout ahead and weigh the risk of entering a new zone against your current equipment. It captures the survival horror vibe of the early Metroid games of being lost in an alien maze, and finally stumbling into a save room makes you feel so relieved. The gameplay is intentionally stiff and deliberate, emphasizing positioning and careful weapon use over high-speed dashing. The game has the classic upgrades, such as double jumps, missiles, and specialized suits. It's a game that strips away all the modern conveniences and hand-holding, and is an actual throwback to the 8-bit days in all ways that count. MindSeize 2020. If you wanted an epic sci-fi revenge story in your Metroidvania, MindSeize is the Hollywood blockbuster of the list. Developed by Kamina Dimension, this game is a fast-paced action sack rather than the careful recon hunts of the usual Metroid-like games. You play as MC Fox, a private investigator whose daughter's mind was stolen and who himself was crippled. So he transfers his mind into a mag unit, essentially a combat robot. The combat is fast, with dashes, melee, and different projectiles. You'll get numerous new weapons and upgrades, from bounding shots to machine guns. And you'll have multiple melee weapons, from giant hammers to drills to giant anime swords. Instead of one continuous map, MindSeize features 4 distinct planets you can travel between using your ship. Each world has its own unique atmosphere, enemy types, and specific upgrades. This structure allows the developers to create highly focused biomes like frozen wastes or toxic jungles that force you to constantly adapt your mag unit's abilities. The game's upgrade tree is extensive, allowing for build crafting. Ghost Song 2022. After a decade in development, Ghost Song, developed by Old Moon, finally emerged as one of the most atmospheric and emotionally resonant Metroidvanias in years. You awaken as a dead suit on the desolate moon of Lorien. You play as a Mega Man X-like character with the haunting vibes of Super Metroid and a dark Souls-like narrative. It's a genre mix that works incredibly well, aided by this extremely beautiful yet haunting artwork. This game has a unique mechanic where the ranged attacks empower the melee because your primary weapon, the arm cannon, builds up heat as you fire. Instead of an overheat penalty, as you'd expect, the heat actually makes your physical melee strikes significantly more powerful. powerful. So this creates a great combat loop where you rush towards enemies, firing at them to soften them up, then finish them off with a melee. Visually, the game is artistically beautiful with hand-drawn art that makes the fungal caverns and alien structures of Lorien feel wondrous, yet somber, with this dark sci-fi gothic story. A Robot Named Fight, 2017. You wouldn't think that roguelikes would work with Metroidvanias, as how can you inject procedural generation into lock-and-key interconnected level design, right? But A Robot Named Fight managed to pull it off. Developed by Matt Bittner Games, you play as a lone robot defending a world from a disgusting, fleshy mega beast that has covered everything in gore and teeth. The game leans hard into gross-out body horror with enemies that explode into viscera and bosses that look like sentient heaps butcher scrap. Okay, so let's talk about how this procedural generation works. This isn't just randomly placing rooms around as you'd expect, but it also shuffles around the upgrades you find. One run might give you the double jump early, forcing you to find secrets high up, while another might give you the slide first, opening up floor-based tunnels. The algorithm ensures that every run is beatable and follows the ability gate logic of the genre, but you have to adapt your exploration strategy based on the gear the meat god drops for you. AM2 War, 2016. AM2 War is short for Another Metroid 2 Remake, and yeah, this is a Metroid 2 fan game, and what a monument of fan game it is. Created by Milton Guasti, aka Dr. M64, over the course of 10 whole years, it reimagines the Game Boy's Metroid 2 Return of Samus using the engine and aesthetic of Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission. It is widely considered one of the best games in the entire franchise, despite it being a fan game. AM2 War brought the clunky, monochromatic original into the Fusion era by adding fluid 360-degree aiming, a power grip, and a completely revamped map system. The most significant innovation is how it handles the Metroid encounters, as each evolution, Alpha, Gamma, Zeta, and Omega, features unique high-speed patterns that turn what was an actual slog of a boss in the original into fun strategic boss fights. It also introduces entirely new areas and lore that flesh out the planet of SR-388. This game also added collectible logs and a narrative, letting you learn about the Chozo and the ecosystem of the planet. The Mummy Demastered, 2017. It's rare that a movie tie-in becomes a cult classic, but WayForward managed it by largely ignoring the film it was based on. The Mummy Demastered is a pixel-perfect 16-bit Metroidvania that fuses together the exploration of Metroid with the level design of Castlevania and the running and gunning of Contra. The game features a really cool mechanic where, when you die, your current character turns into a zombie with all the gear and weapons you've gotten. And you then play as another agent in the area, and you have to go and beat your previous zombified self, who's wielding the upgraded guns. So, death is an actual punishment, but not unfairly so, as all it does is add a mini boss encounter, which rewards you with your previous gear. WayForward is a company that's made many high-quality games like Shantae and River City Girls, so, it's expected that their sprite work, artwork, and design are top-notch, with some of the best and most fluid monster designs and animations I've seen in a while. Haiku the Robot, 2022. Developed by Mr. Morris Games, Haiku the Robot is a delightful yet melancholic adventure set in a world reclaimed by nature and machines. You play as Haiku, a small robot exploring the ruins of Arcadia after a global corruption event. It has the lo-fi charm of a Game Boy Color while being detailed and having smooth animations and visual effects. The game features a flexible chip system that allows you to tailor Haiku's abilities to your current needs. These chips can grant anything from increased damage and faster healing to utility skills like showing secrets on the map or automatically collecting currency. Because your chip slots are limited, the game encourages on-the-go build crafting. So, should you be prioritizing survivability for a difficult boss fight, or mobility for exploring new sectors? It's a clean, intuitive way to handle progression. The world of Arcadia is a sprawling, interconnected literal machine. The level design is very tight, using ability gates that fit the robot-themed setting, like using electric dashes to power up circuits or a wrench to turn gears. Cyron 2021. Sticking with a lo-fi and low-bit aesthetic, Cyron feels like a game that was made for the Pico 8. Developed by Mossworm, it's an incredibly fast-paced Metroidvania that feels like it was designed specifically for speedrunning. You awaken in a derelict space station and must navigate three increasingly complex zones to escape. The core concept is simplifying and stripping away everything but the core pillars of this design: tight movement, rewarding exploration, and satisfying ability gating. The game encourages you to move fast, giving you a highly responsive dash and jump, as well as tight controls. The level design reflects this speed, with claustrophobic corridors and large open areas that reward you for maintaining momentum. It captures the flow state of speedrunning games where you're effortlessly chaining jumps and dashes to bypass obstacles, making the act of traversing the station just as much of an obstacle as the enemies you face. The game uses a crisp, high-contrast pixel art style that emphasizes readability during high-speed segments, making the difficulty high but easily doable. Astronite 2021. Let's keep the lo-fi aesthetic train going with our lowest fi game here, using 1-bit monochromatic art that still looks beautiful and highly readable. Developed by Doom Game Studio, you're in control of a small explorer attempting to reclaim a planet overrun by a strange entity. It's a game of bare essential mechanics that strips away at the Metroidvania loop down to its most rewarding core. The game's progression revolves around your jetpack and blaster upgrades and how they interact with each other. You'll find upgrades that let you hover longer, dash through hazards, or fire specialized beams that interact with the environment. The game is very difficult, so you'll want to use every ability and tool at your disposal to the fullest. And it is intentionally difficult, actually, as it also has a Souls-like currency loss system, where dying means leaving your shards behind, forcing a tense trek back to recover your progress. Xanthiom 2023. Remember how I said Astronite was the lowest fi game on the list? Well, I lied. Or maybe not, because that game and this are lo-fi in completely different ways. Developed by Mathen Games, this game looks and feels like an Atari 2600 game. The design and art decisions the game makes are honestly baffling. Yet, despite how small and low-tech the graphics are, the sprites have smooth, high frame rate animation, and there are legit impressive visual and particle effects going on. The game is a total mindfuck, and not just in visuals, as it also has a modular upgrade system where you find various weapons and ability modules that can be combined and swapped to suit your needs. You can augment your standard blaster with rapid fire, piercing, or elemental properties, and this flexibility extends to your movement as well, allowing for a personalized approach to both navigation and combat. The map design is dense and tight, and it actually rewards creative thinking and sequence breaking. It's the strangest game on this list in every way. These games show that you can ditch the Vania part of Metroidvania and create very different, unique games. From procedural generation to high-speed action to like the strangest and most weird games that have genuinely shocked me. Like, actually, I can't believe WayForward just made their own zombie game, added in sand particle effects, and called it an official The Mummy game. These games display levels of creativity and tight design that the failing AAA market should learn from.